Hey everybody, and welcome back to some more City Skylines. Flippin' heck, it has been quite a long time since we last did a series on City Skylines. I think it has been over a year now since the last episode of City Skylines went out. We did a little short mini-series when the Snowfall DLC came out, but I've been playing this game quite a lot recently, and just the other day Paradox sent me an early key of the Mass Transit DLC, which is coming out at the time of recording this 2 days from now on May the 18th, and so I figured what better time to jump back in and play around with some of the new stuff and start a brand new city in City Skylines. Oh, I love this game. It is fantastic. So, we're playing here on one of the new maps that comes with the Mass Transit DLC. Fairly bog standard map, nothing massively interesting about it. It's nice and flat, which I quite like. It's got a river, which I really like to have in my cities. I just love having bridges. Don't you just love, look at this. Oh, I just love having these bridges that connect part of the city, and I love having like the subway or the underground connecting like different areas of the city as well, over and under the rivers. But the main difference about this map that is not really standard with any of the other maps is that you start with part of the highway inside of your city. Now, normally, when you start out in City Skylines, you have access to like this much. That's like usually this red line is normally where the border is. And so normally you can kind of tweak this little area right here, but you don't have access to the main highway that's feeding all the people into your city. I'm not quite sure if this is going to make a difference to how I lay my city out whatsoever, but it's nice to have the option to tweak the highway if I so wish, or if we have any kind of traffic problems, which you know that we will at some point throughout the series, because flipping, if City Skylines is anything, it's a game about traffic. But without further ado, let's get started with some roads here. So I put down the basic 2-lane road. I've still no idea why you have to put that down before you unlock all of the other like starting roads. It still baffles me, but nevertheless, what I am thinking here is I'm thinking that we're probably going to do something a little bit like this. So what I want to have is these will eventually become highway roads like these roads here, but again, to start with, we don't unlock the highway roads until I think 2,800 people, so we've got quite a ways to go before we actually unlock the highway roads. And so for now, we're just going to use these one-way 2-lane roads as kind of makeshift highways that we can then upgrade later on down the line. Also, I should point out before we start here, the series is going to be a little bit more laid back, a little bit more slow paced than some of the normal stuff that I do. You know, I'm not going to be tearing through the game. I'm not going to be trying to speed run to like the nearest milestone. I'm going to be taking my time a little bit, trying to make a reasonably nice looking city. I'm not going to make any promises, because for those who've watched me play this before, you'll know that might not be the best when it comes to building things that look particularly great, but I'm going to try and make things look at least a little bit decent. I think that lines up nicely. I kind of want to make sure that these are an equal distance apart all the way around. I've kind of messed up a little bit. You can see if I zoom in here that it's 2 tiles apart here, and then it's only 1 tile apart right here, but then it does become 2 tiles apart then again when it gets around the corner there. So I think I'm gonna kind of be happy with that. It's not too noticeable. I think it works out quite nicely. And then we do want to keep an eye on our money. One thing that I have done multiple times while playing this game is spend way too much money on roads early on and then not have enough money for water or electricity, and then your city just ends up going in a downward spiral where you can't get people in, you can't make any money, you just lose and you have to start again. Don't want that to happen, and so I'm going to pause the game. You can see down here we are already losing money. We're at negative $43 a week. That is because you do have to pay for road maintenance, and so I think we should probably get this set up before we press play and start letting people into the city. I'm going to just kind of build some stuff here, and I'm going to talk about what I want to do for the city. I would like to have, because of the new mass transit stuff, I want to build a city that is probably a bit more spread out than normal. Now, that's probably not going to come to fruition in the first couple of episodes here, because the game really does penalize you quite a bit if you spread out too early. You know, you've got to get your electricity all over the place, you've got to get your water everywhere, and it can be quite expensive, and if you don't have the money for it, like I mentioned a second ago, you can kind of enter that downward spiral, which ends usually pretty badly, and I don't really want to end up that way. And so for now, we're probably going to build a fairly small city, but eventually what I'd like to do is have a much larger city with like smaller towns or smaller pockets of population inside of it, you know, and so we can have like a little town that we're going to build right here. I don't know, this road doesn't look very straight here, but it kind of looks, it's perpendicular to this road here, so even though it might not be straight from a bird's eye, it's fine. But no, I want to have like a small little area here, and then we might have like another little pocket kind of maybe over here or maybe just across the river. And so that way we can really get into the public transport side of things, really try and get the most out of the mass transit DLC. We can get some trains going, maybe some trams, definitely some buses. What's the new stuff that they've added? They've added, I think, a monorail. I can't click on the transport tab, so I can't show you, but I know they've added blimps, which I've played with a little bit, and they kind of confuse me, the blimps do. Not quite sure how useful those are going to be going forward, but stuff like that, I would like to set up quite a large city and have it quite spread out compared to my normal city builds, which tend to be a little bit more cramped. They tend to be like all be like really clustered together, which is not at all good when it comes to traffic management. So I kind of want this bend here to go around and be in line with the bend that we have over here for the highway, just for kind of consistency's sake. I don't want to use a one-way road. I want to do something a little bit like that. There we go. That's perfect. It's not quite perfect, actually. You can see there's a little like kink in the road here, and so I'll get rid of that, and we'll just kind of have the straight line go from here. Is that gonna... Yeah, see, that's the straight line. That's not... That's not exactly what I wanted. So if we do that, it is gonna make that kink again, isn't it? You know what? We're gonna have to live with it. We're gonna have to live... I don't want to live with it. No, I don't want to live with it. Okay, hold on. Hold on just a second. I don't want it to be like that, because that's not quite as curved as the main road is here. What if we do... What if we do something like that? Yeah. You know what? Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. It's not perfect. I would have liked it to be a bit more kind of parallel with these highway roads here, but for the time being, it should work out just fine. We're going to get rid of this, and we're going to connect this up to our main road with just a nice straight line like so. Once we extend this out just a bit further like that. And then I think what we're going to do here, or at least my plan here, is I'm probably going to have this kind of be like a main road, like a main street that goes through like the first little town that we have here. And so what I might do actually is kind of get rid of this and this, have this come all the way through like that. And then we could just connect the highway to this main road, but if we want it to be an actual highway later on in the game, I think what would be a better idea would be to have this kind of go up and over. Let me quickly turn down the elevation step there, because I don't want it to go quite that high. I want it to be like that, and then back down like that. Yeah, perfect. Perfect. Then what we can do is we can just have some little on-off ramps that make it easy for people to get onto and off of the highway without causing like massive congestion. Because if you put intersections onto the highway, things just get, especially intersections onto this 4-lane road, it's going to put traffic lights down, which we're probably going to get rid of, by the way, as we go through the game here. I'm not a huge fan of having the traffic lights around. They tend to just slow people down from what I have seen. I could be wrong about that, but I think what we're going to do is we're going to have a bit of something... I was going to do like a straight edge thing here and here, and I think that would look quite good aesthetically doing something like this, but I think when it comes to traffic, it's going to be a little bit better if we do something like this and have a bit of like an off-ramp so people can come off and go on that way. And then if we do the same thing, we'll do it like right here like that. Try and make it as symmetrical as possible. It might not be perfectly symmetrical, but you know what, that's close enough. And then we'll try and do the same thing over here. So I want it to be right about there. Is that right? I think the side's maybe a little bit shorter, but you know what? That's fine. That's fine. I'm going to try and not let like little things like that get in the way, because otherwise I could sit here for hours just kind of putting that little road together there. But I think that looks pretty good. We'll have this kind of obviously extend out and forward like this. Again, don't want to spend too much money too early on, and we do want to make sure that we turn all of these one-way roads around so that they are facing the correct direction. I'm not playing with any mods, by the way. I should point that out from the beginning here. Right now, actually, that's a lie. I am playing with a few mods, but I turned off a lot of my mods before I started playing because a lot of them were going to conflict with the new mass transit DLC. We probably will add some of the mods back in as the game releases. We probably won't have any in for the first couple of episodes here because I'm recording these before the DLC actually comes out. But once the DLC is out and once some of the mods update, I'll add them back in and we'll play around with those, especially some of the traffic mods I would like to re-add in. Right now, I only have 1 or 2 mods installed. The only one I can think of off the top of my head is the bulldozer mod, the automatic bulldozer mod, so that if buildings are abandoned or if buildings burn down, that they will automatically get bulldozed. I don't have to go around and individually get rid of every burning building. And so now we've got this. What I think we're going to do, this is like a nice little, I don't know about nice, but it's a little roundabout that people can use to get like on and off of the makeshift highway that we have right here. And then I think what we'll do is we'll have, I don't want to go with like a straight box like a straight grid, you know? Far too often I just like build a city and it's just like a massive grid. And although it works, I don't really think it looks too good. And so what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to get a little bit, I would say creative, but it's not really going to be creative. It's more just going to be kind of silly almost with these roads and have them kind of bend around like this. The outer framework of the city, I think I'm going to try and keep mostly square and mostly kind of as aligned as we possibly can, like we've done with this like outer road here and as we've done with this main road and with the highway. But inside of those major outlines, inside of like the actual like suburban areas of our city, I'd like to have kind of more curvy roads like this. It's probably going to end up being a bit of a nightmare when it comes to traffic management later in the game, but we'll deal with that when we come to it. And so instead we'll just do something like this, then we'll have that bend round. That is a bit of a waste of space. I do kind of still want to be a little bit wary when it comes to being like space conscious. I'm not a huge fan at all of leaving like big gaps like this in the middle where no one can build or do anything. Also, I'm not quite sure what's with these new dots, these new lines. They've changed the way that the road placement works a little bit with the new mass transit update. And you can see we've got these little like lines now showing us all the like angles connecting to other roads, other intersections. I quite like it. It also shows you the angle here as well now of the road coming off of the road that you're already on, if that makes sense. I'm fairly certain that's new as well. I don't recall seeing that in the older expansions, but we'll do something like this. We'll have this kind of curve around and then connect up maybe like right there. Yeah, sure, why not? It doesn't look great yet, but I usually find that when I do this kind of thing, it looks pretty bad all the way up until the point when it's kind of done and filled out, at which point it looks a little bit more organic, at least to me, living in like rural England. A lot of roads kind of look like this. There is just very little organization to anything. All of the roads are just a complete mess, and so this is kind of just perfect for me, you know. So let me do I want to curve this other end as well? I'm contemplating having like another curve here that kind of comes round, like not quite like as harsh as that, but you get the idea, coming around like this one does over here. But I think what I might do at this side is have, again, just kind of like a nice straight road and kind of have it be in line with the highway here, you know, which is also quite straight coming up like that. Yeah, I think that works out quite nicely. We'll probably end up continuing this this main road kind of under here at some point in the future, but again, before we get carried away with ourselves, let me quickly get all of our facilities up and running. So water, we want to stick a pump down. We'll put the pump, I guess, over here at this side like that, and then we'll put our sewage pipe just a little bit further down. Preferably, I'd like to put it like right as far away as I could, like right there, just to make sure that there is no chance whatsoever of the water being polluted. But at the same time, I don't want to have to spend too much on energy pylons getting power down to my sewage outflow. And so for now, I'm going to put that like right about there. The fact that the water is kind of all flowing downstream like that, it should mean that this water that we're pumping in here for people to drink shouldn't get polluted at all, hopefully. And then we'll just kind of run this water up and along and into the city. I kind of like to have my water pipes underneath my roads. And again, we should pause real quick before we start losing money for road maintenance. It's not the most efficient way of doing things. I like to run my water pipes like this, and it looks a little silly sometimes, especially when you do what I've just done here and build these like really windy roads. It's also very inefficient when it comes to space coverage, but I just feel it looks a little bit better. You know, it looks a little bit more realistic. Normally you'd have like water pipes underneath the roads here. Eventually I might get bored of this and start just throwing them down in big straight lines when I'm fed up of putting these like weird zigzaggy water pipes in. But for the time being, I feel like this works out just fine. And so now for power, we can't afford the coal plant already, which is not great because I'm fairly certain that these wind turbines here, we're going to get kind of the power they generate is going to get used up real quick. But we'll put one down there right by the river so it can get the maximum 8 megawatts power production. And then we'll have just like a nice long line of pylons coming all the way out to here. So this is where all of my kind of residential zone is going to be. So we're going to kind of grab this. I quite like to use the large bush tool here as opposed to like the fill tool or the marquee tool. And we're just going to go and just like fill in all of these areas like this. I normally like to leave the area like just on the road for commercial zones, but we'll do this. I'm not quite sure yet where we're going to put all of our industrial areas, because we definitely are going to have to put down some of those fairly soon. And again, with pollution, we don't want to have them too close to our residential areas, but at the same time, we don't want them too far away, because then we've got to run more energy pylons, we've got to run more water pipes over there, and it just becomes quite expensive. But we'll do that. We'll kind of highlight this little area here and like this bit here, and we'll have that be our like default commercial zone, and then we'll make this just some more housing like that. But yeah, I tend to leave these areas here for commercial zones. I don't like to put residential areas on these main roads. We might do that at some point if we're really desperate for some more residential zonage. But I think for now we can go ahead and hit play. We'll speed this up just a little bit here, and by just a little bit I mean to actually full speed. And I think this should work out just fine. Yeah, look at that. We've got some people moving in already. Good stuff. All right, so I guess one option that we do have, we could either, I think, put our industrial zone over here behind the highway, so we could have like a little like offset. We could build, we could try and build like another one of these like right here, but we'd have to build it in a really makeshift way because we haven't unlocked it yet. Or what might be a better plan is to put another one of these, which looking at it now looks a bit more off than when I first built it, but putting another one of these kind of right about here as soon as you enter the city, and then having like our industrial area be over here, which I think might be a better idea. And also, before I forget, let me bring down the budget. We can turn the budget for the evening all the way down because we're not playing with the day-night cycle on. And I think for road maintenance, we can bring this down a little bit as well. We'll bring it down to like 75%. And then I think we can also probably bring water down to maybe 60, and then electricity also like 65. I think should be fine for the time being. If we check our production and consumption, right now we're producing 3, consuming 0. Once all these little like buildings pop up, we should start to see some consumption. Yeah, we got 1 megawatt of consumption, but that should be fine, and that's quite an easy way to save some money early on. You can see we've already gone down from, I think it was like negative 1,400 a week down to negative 700 a week, which is going to help us not just go completely bankrupt here in the early game. So let me pause again real quick, and let me see about building another one of these intersections real quick. And already we're out of money. Fantastic. All right. Well, in that case, then let me just kind of leave that for now. We'll come back to putting our. Ooh, no, that's the wrong way. I want to do this, this, and this. There we go. For now, we'll come back to building our industrial area over there in just a second. For now, let us fill in a couple more areas here for residential. I'll fill in all this. We'll probably have to get rid of some of these homes at some point, because I'm going to build more roads kind of coming off and around into this area. But for now, we are losing money incredibly quickly, and so I'm going to bring our road budget all the way down to 50%. We can't control taxes just yet, which is going to cause a bit of an issue. I think for the time being, what I'm going to have to do, this is not good. This is not good. I refuse to let this stop me. For the time being, I'm going to put like a tiny bit of industry like right there. I really don't want it to be there because I do want to build houses there fairly soon. But we'll put that there just to satisfy a bit of demand and just to try and get some people in. And what do we need to get to before we unlock taxes? We need a population of 500, at which point we can start to bump the taxes up just a little bit. I would like to, where possible, keep the taxes as low as we can. Oh, we can't run power to these guys. That's not good. Okay, let's do like this. This is not the way that I should be running this city, by the way, like at all. But hopefully, if we can get some people in here before these guys move out, we should hopefully be able to get electricity over. Let me like get rid of this and try and force people into moving in like down here right next to the industrial area, just so that we could spread the electricity just a little bit. If we could, that would be fantastic. There we go. Okay, the electricity is now connected. We need to bump the budget up just a little bit. I love how we can bump the budget up despite the fact that we've got no money, but we are now actually making money, which is a plus. We are just on the brink of not having enough electricity to power our small little town here, so I'll bump that up as well to 90% there, which I think should be okay. These guys are already covered with water, which is good. I'm glad I had the hindsight to kind of connect all this up before we start doing anything else. And so now we've really just got to play a bit of a waiting game until we've got enough money to finish off this little like roundabout that we're going to put for what will be our real kind of industrial area over here on the right. Okay, so a little bit of waiting around later, we finally earned enough money to actually build this monstrosity of a roundabout that we now have 2 of, if you can even call it a roundabout, more of like an on-off ramp for this like weird highway that we've got. And also I do need to quickly switch the direction of that road there, but the rest of those are fine. So let me see here. I want this to kind of continue out just a little bit further like this. It's going to be like our main road for industry. Right now it doesn't look like much of a main road, but it should work out just fine. And then I think we will for the time being, have a much more kind of boxy industry zone. It's going to be a lot more square than the residential zone that we have over here. And before we get too invested, we should probably put some money into getting water over here and also into getting electricity over here, because without those, any industry that does set up over here is going to leave like almost instantly. So we'll put that there. We'll actually have that kind of continue over if we can, just into this area like so, and then hopefully once we get a little bit more money here, actually we're almost at 500 people. If we could just get 2 more people to move in. Anybody got a free bedroom they want to rent out? Maybe get that like last person here. There we go. As we've now unlocked taxes, loans, garbage, healthcare, education, elementary school, landfills, and medical clinics. And the first thing I'm going to do really quickly here is just bump taxes up by 1% to 10%. From my experience, people are happy going up to 12%, and then after 12%, they tend to get a little bit annoyed with higher taxes, and we should bump up the spending on electricity just a little bit, because we're not really producing enough for the city here, which was one of my principal fears when we put down this wind turbine here. It really doesn't produce enough power, I don't think. I feel like we do kind of have to start out with the coal power plant, but we did just get a nice cash infusion for getting up to the 500 people milestone, and so we can expand this out just a little bit, like so. That does leave a little bit of space to be desired on the right hand side there, but that's fine. And then we'll do something like that, create a nice little area over here for all of our industrial. And so let's go ahead and just fill all of this in like here. And once we get a couple of buildings in this area, we'll go ahead and just like completely get rid of, and actually, you know what, we're gonna do it now. We're just gonna get rid of all this stuff here before we get too much land pollution. They've already done a fair bit of damage to the land there, but that's fine. And then whilst we're waiting for these guys to fill it over here, which they have done incredibly quickly, let me see about building a few more roads kind of off and in here for the suburban area. Again, we'll do some nice like little roads like this. We've also got this guy who's just trying desperately to find his way back to a normal legal road, but that's fine. So we'll do this. We'll have something, it's a bit too sharp. We'll do something a little bit more, I say sharp, and then you know what, I'm gonna build like this weird little, yeah, we'll do it like that. That's a really odd little road. I'm gonna pause real quick because I see already people are complaining about garbage, and garbage is the bane of my life. People are always complaining about garbage, so we are going to have to very early on here spend 4,000 on putting down some garbage disposal. So I'll throw that down like right about there. These guys are complaining about water and about electricity, which is completely understandable considering that they almost certainly have neither. They've got water now. Electricity is real low. We're going to have to throw down a second wind turbine here, which is going to temporarily solve the problem, but long term isn't really going to solve the problem at all, because the wind turbines produce a maximum of 8 megawatts, whereas the coal power plant costs 3 times as much as one of the windmills, but produces 5 times as much power at 40 megawatts. So it's definitely a better investment early on, although it does produce more pollution, which could be a bit of an issue, but especially in the early game, I feel like it's probably fine. So I'm going to bring this back down again to like 80%. I know we're spending a lot of time tweaking these numbers over here, but it really does help with saving money, especially in the early game. Once we get further on into the game, we're making a decent amount of money. We'll probably spend less time micromanaging every aspect of the game, but for the time being, we do want to throw down a couple more residential zones around like this. You see how fast they moved in? I'd barely gotten the green paint down and they were ready to move in. They had their fingers on the buy button. They were ready to go. Flipping heck. We'll fill all this in like so. And then we'll probably throw down, again, I don't like to have that like here or here. Actually, no, that's fine. Yeah, we'll have it like that. I just won't connect it up to kind of this main road there. And then we'll throw down a couple more stores. I guess we probably want to have a few over here next to the industry area. Otherwise, the industrial area does start to complain just a little bit. We'll bump this back up to like 95% there. They're complaining about a lack of workers. That should go away pretty quickly because we just built a whole new area over here for people to move in. And we do need to very quickly just throw down a couple of pipes like so. Again, trying where we can to follow the road with all of our pipes and make it look just a little bit nicer. Garbage should be fine for quite a while now. And look at this. We've got quite a nice little city going here. This is actually working out quite nicely. Hopefully these like makeshift roundabouts or on ramps and off ramps should do us justice for quite a while here. They should keep the traffic at bay for hopefully quite some time. As I mentioned earlier, I'm really not a fan of traffic lights, and so I'm going to go around and get rid of these wherever I can, because they really, from what I've seen of like watching the cars drive around in this game, they just seem to be faster without traffic lights. Like in almost every scenario, the traffic moves smoother and it just is faster whenever there are not traffic lights involved. So we'll play it by ear. If we do see like an intersection or a roundabout that's particularly congested and it looks like putting traffic lights in there will make it work better, we'll put some traffic lights in there. But if not, for now, we'll leave it looking like this. What I'll probably do from here is kind of extend out on the other side of this main road here. So we'll have like another little area just kind of attached to the left, like a mirror image of what we have on the right-hand side here. I don't want to go too far out, so we'll probably only go out as far as we've done on this side. So for example, we're going to have this kind of come out to probably about there. Let me just check real quick how far from the central road on this side. We went up by 1, 2, 3, just shy. It's a bit annoying that the road keeps bending, but just shy or just over like 4 clicks. And by clicks, I mean these little like, you probably know what I mean, these little notches. So 1, 2, 3, 4. We went just over. So let me quickly do like right there. That should be perfect. So that's about as far out as we're going to go. If we go too much further, if we stray too far away from this kind of main road, then traffic tends to get really bad, and especially as we go further on into the game, when we start getting real problems with trash piling up and with people dying and then not being picked up, and we get buildings where there's a dead person who's been there for a week, stuff like that, we want to not happen. And so we're going to try and keep all of our buildings as close to a main road as we possibly can, and really as close to one of these highways as we can as well, because that'll make it nice and easy for people to get around. Again, power is really becoming a bit of an issue. Thankfully, we're getting close to 19,000, and so if possible, I would like to get down a coal power plant as fast as possible here. But while we're waiting for that, let me quickly just do something like this. And again, like we've done over here, I would like to have a nice curve. I'd like to keep it as symmetrical as possible where we can. So we'll do something like that, which I think is right. I think that's straight enough. And then we'll have this come up like so. And then we'll do a bit of a bend. I'm not going to be too much of a stickler here for this being perfect, because I know I'm not going to get it perfect, but we'll move that back just a little bit. And then we'll see about having this come up and around like so. Yeah, it's not going to be perfect, but it looks all right. It looks like a piece of toast. It looks like a really wide kind of piece of toast that we built from the bird's eye perspective there. But nevertheless, let me throw down some more residential just in these spots like so. And we do now have enough money to throw down one of, and also we are now a worthy village. We reached 1,000 population. We can now buy a new area if we wish, which is quite nice. We can start to work on the plan I mentioned earlier of spreading our smaller towns kind of out a bit and then using public transport to connect them all together. We got districts, policy, second loan. We got a bunch of stuff. I completely forgot about the loans entirely, that we could take those out and start spending those. But let me throw down this freaking coal power plant, because flippin' heck, we need the power. And thankfully now we could turn down our budget for power all the way down. We'll put it down at like maybe like 70%. Yeah, we'll put it at 70% for now, and that should be fine for quite a while actually, because we're now up producing 27 megawatts, and we're only using 18, 19, maybe 20 megawatts in total. So that should be fine for the foreseeable future. And then we'll also throw down a couple of like basic facilities as well. In an elementary school right now, there were 178 people, 136. Apparently 2 people just became ineligible. How are people losing eligibility? Are they getting too old? Is it people who are like becoming teenagers without having ever gone to elementary school? That's fine. We'll throw that down. We'll start educating the young folk in our town, and we'll also throw down, I don't want to go too crazy on facilities just yet, because they do cost money, and I like making the money that we're making right now. So I will throw down a clinic, and I'm also going to throw down, when we get the money, a firehouse. I'm going to put it closer to our industrial area, because from experience, this is where most of the fires happen. And when the fires start over here, they tend to be pretty bad. But we'll do that. We'll very quickly lower the budget here for medicine. Again, the evening budgets can just go all the way down because they do not matter at all. We'll bring that down just a little bit, just try and save a little bit of money. We'll bring it down to 75% for now. If people start getting ill, or if it looks like our medical facilities aren't working as intended, we can always go and bump that back up to a reasonable number. And real quick, we are getting a nice bit of demand here for some residential buildings, and so we'll do something a little bit like this, get a nice like windy road going in there, and then we'll also kind of have a bit that comes off like this, and then I do like to have some straight lines in here, and so you know we'll have like a nice straight line that goes straight on from that intersection there, and then we'll build just a couple more, maybe have like a little cul-de-sac, a road that doesn't kind of connect to another road, although these are also a bit of a nightmare when it comes to traffic management because they can't get onto another road, they have to turn around at the end of the road, but you know what? It's fine. I think it looks pretty nice, and so we'll do something like that, and then we'll connect up another road, I guess. Sure, why not? And then we'll finally do like one last road that goes there, and yeah, we'll do like one there as well. That should be fine. That should be fine. We've got a couple of gaps, which I'm not a huge fan of, but those should be fine. Those should be fine. Also, we have, of course, the one, well, not the one facility we didn't build, but one of the facilities that we didn't build is the one that people are complaining about already. The crime rate is too high, and so I guess we're going to have to take out a very small loan here of $20,000 to quickly throw down this little starting police station. We'll do that. Hopefully, we get enough money to put down the fire station before a fire starts anywhere in the city, preferably. But for the time being, let me quickly do a little bit more laying down of the waterworks here. We'll do something like this and like this. And again, we'll try to keep this going like this. I wish there was like a road in the roads menu. I wish there was like a road with pipe, so you could just like automatically lay down pipes under the road. You know, make it as expensive. I don't think these pipes are too expensive. $20 per cell. Make it as expensive as a road and a pipe put together, but just like automatically put down pipes underneath the roads. You know. Or at least on the main roads, you know, there's like these 4-lane roads. It'd be nice if that was an option. Modders, if you're listening, it probably already exists actually. I'm saying modders if you're listening. They probably have already done it and I just haven't seen it yet. But anyway, let me fill all this in. Again, we want to make sure that we get close to these pylons to make sure that the new houses are all powered up. We'll fill in all of these areas like so. Put a little bit more commercial just kind of at the front here like that. That's looking pretty good. That is looking pretty good. Pretty good. Yeah, I like it. So we got a bit of a crime rate problem over in our industrial area. The crime rate is still high. Hopefully it's starting to fall. 27%. That's a crazy high crime rate. Hopefully our police department starts to get that like resolved pretty quickly here, where they are, as of right now, just paid 100%. We're paying them like the full amount that they start with. We will, I don't really want to up the taxes, because when you have lower taxes, more people move in, and the more people that you have, the more money you make from taxes. But I think for the time being, we have to bump the taxes up just a little bit to 12%, at least until this crime rate goes down, just so we can cover the cost of paying 100% for our police force for the time being. Hopefully, this doesn't remain a problem for too long. I was looking at these cars here and wondering if we had traffic lights I didn't know about, but no, these are just parked on the side of the road. But with that, guys, I'm going to end the first episode. But with that, guys, I think we're going to end the first episode of City Skylines with the Mass Transit DLC here. We've got a nice little town going in our city here. Like I said, I would like to expand out. We'll probably extend the highway next episode if we get enough money, and then maybe have it... I think we could either buy the plot of land next to the river here. We've got like a plot that we could buy right here and then extend the highway all the way over the river. Or what we might do if we want to save money and not buy the new plot. The new plot's not too expensive, actually, I don't think. But extending the highway that far would be quite expensive. It's only 5,000. But what we might do instead is have like another turn in what will be the highway here, and maybe do something like this and have that come up and then build like another little town maybe over here. And then once we unlock public transport at 2,800 people, which we're almost at. We're about halfway there. We can start setting up buses and then maybe trams at some point that connect like this little town over here to this town over here, and have buses that take people from like within the suburbs out and around and to the industrial area, just to make life a little bit easier. And I think I'm going to have to move this thing. You know what? Let me put it... I don't want to put it on the highway, because obviously it's not going to... That's not where it's going to stay, but I'll put it here. I think they should still be able to get over here and take care of crime in this area. That should definitely be a thing that they can do. And I think it might just be a case of like waiting now before the crime rate goes down and everybody over here stops complaining about crime. Is crime going down? 38%? Not at all! What is happening? The jail capacity is full. We're full of prisoners. Oh my goodness. Okay, let me really quickly here. I know I said I'm ending, but let me put... That's not the right facility. Let me bring that back down. Let's put a little... I'm going to like put 150% into the police force. We need more police cars. Our prison cells are full. We need like a fully functioning prison already. We're in our first episode. We've already got far too many criminals. We've raised a city of criminals. It's ridiculous. But nevertheless, guys, as I said, with that, I'm going to end this episode of City Skylines. As always, if you did enjoy the video and you want to see more, be sure to smack that like button. It really does help out a lot. Lets me know that you guys enjoyed the videos and you want to see more like this in the future. Subscribe if you're new here. We'll hopefully get videos out every single day for the foreseeable future. Again, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.